Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Great to have you with us on the program today. And back with us, Dr. Stephen Bentley. His new book is called A License to Heal. He describes the real world of emergency medicine from the viewpoint of a practicing emergency physician. It includes emergency room stories from Dr. Bentley's career of 33 years as an emergency room physician in North Carolina. The book, A License to Heal, Random Memories of an ER Doctor. Back with us on the program, Dr. Stephen Bentley. Dr. Bentley, great to have you back on the program. Thank you for joining us.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking me, Rick.
So many stories left over from the last time we got together, and you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and go to YouTube and catch the video of that. You can go to iTunes and catch the audio of that. We're going to sort of pick up on that and talk about some more of the stories in the book, A License to Heal. First of all, it's interesting how you ended up in emergency room medicine, ER medicine, and how much you enjoyed that and the team quality that you really appreciated. Talk about how you decided to end up in ER medicine.
Well, Rick, let me take a moment to say you are correct. You're exactly correct. It is a team effort, and that's one of the things that I truly enjoyed about emergency medicine. And now I need to pause for just a second and say thank you to all the wonderful paramedics and wonderful ER nurses that I've worked with through the years, because they do an enormous job for the people in general. And they don't realize they're behind the scene, and people don't realize, but they are the backbone of the ER. It is a team effort taking care of the patients. You got to have the paramedics, you got to have the nurses, you got to have the lab techs, you've got to have the x-ray techs, and finally you got to have me, the doctor. And all together we work together as a concert to enhance the well-being of the patient and hopefully have a good outcome.
In the book, A License to Heal, you talk about the ER doctor has the rare observational vantage point and perspective on the human experience. That's interesting because it's almost like what you could be a psychologist now in your second career for what you've seen and witnessed during that career in the ER room.
That is true. And in fact, my mother, her greatest wish was for me to be a psychiatrist. I personally don't care for psychiatry too much. I found ER fascinating. It's fast-paced. There's always stimulus. There's always something new. Just when you think you've seen it all, and after 33 years, there's something else that you haven't seen. You can't learn it. So it is interesting. It is continually stimulating.
One of the cases, and I believe this was back during your training that you talk about in the book, A License to Heal, was a case of Solomon Darby. And you say even to this day, this case and this gentleman has stayed with you. Talk about that experience, because you're a man of science, and here you are witnessing something that really goes beyond science.
This is very interesting, Rick, and I'm glad you brought that up. Solomon Darby is a name that has stayed with me all these years. Now, how that happened, I don't know. The thing is, I am a man of science. I am obviously a medical background, and I depend heavily on the science. I believe heavily in the sciences. However, there was an episode of this man, Solomon Darby, allowed me to witness. I was very privileged to witness. The short version is that years ago, he was a patient of mine, a black man with a mouthful of gold teeth. And he had a big cancer in his lung that we were trying to work up. He was dying, and I knew that. He knew that. And every day we'd make rounds on him. He felt terrible. One day I came in. He had his arms outstretched in front of him. Eyes were bright, and he was looking focused way off in the distance, way beyond me and the students that were with me. And he saw something, and he was smiling. His smile lit up the entire room. It was obvious that something was very different. And as we talked to Solomon, he kept repeating, "I don't need no doctors now. Everything's all right. They're all here. I don't need no doctors now." And I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And it's only now, after 30 years, and I mean, of course, at the time, I told the student, this man's going to be dead in a few hours, and he was. I was privileged to be present when he transitioned from whatever this life is to the next life. To whatever lies out there beyond. And I am an agnostic. If anything, I'm an agnostic. But there was something going on. I was there. I know all the explanations. Low blood oxygen, terminal neurons firing off, hallucinations. I know all that. It wasn't that. I was there. I know it was something very, very different. And I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I forgot about it for 30 years, but I never forgot his name. And I've seen hundreds of deaths through the years. And yet I always remember Solomon Darby, and I always remember that big, bright smile and what the room felt like and what it felt like. This was very, very bizarre.
And it's interesting because you wrote in the book, and the book by Dr. Stephen Bentley is A License to Heal Random Memories of an ER Doctor. You say that you told the others in the room that he's going to be dead very shortly, despite the fact that what physically, if you were just relying on looking at him and his physical condition, you wouldn't have said that. But you just felt, you've seen this before, he's not going to be with us long.
No, I already knew that. And my expression for it was, he is seeing angels. I had never seen that intense of an episode. And as I said, that stayed with me all these years. I don't remember any of the other, and I've seen hundreds of deaths. I don't remember any of their names. I remember Solomon Darby, and I remember that day very well. But yes, I told the students he'll be dead in a few hours. And there was nothing medically that was changed from the day before. But something was very different. And he transitioned, and I saw it, and I was there, and I watched it. It's very, very interesting. He was, in fact, one of the great inspirations for me writing this book, because I promised Solomon in the last days, is that if I live and if everything goes well, I'll write a book and I'll tell your story. And that's what I did. I just told Solomon Darby's story. And, and now I go back and I read Raymond Moody's book, Life After Life, and I read Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, her stuff. And it's like, oh, I know what that is. I saw that. I saw something like, but that was 30 years ago. I never really understood what I saw. I thought I was special. I thought I was privileged, and that nobody. Well, and then I come to read their book and find out that thousands of other people have seen the same thing, and told it. And it's not something religious or incredibly special. It is. Oh, I was there, and I watched him transition from this life to the whatever's out there. I don't know, but there's something.
You're listening to This Week in America. Our guest on the program is Dr. Stephen Bentley. His book is called A License to Heal, Random Memories of an ER Doctor. The website for the book is alicencetoheal.wordpress.com. The book's available at all the book outlets around the country, and you can find out more of the book and go directly to Dr. Bentley's website by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And talking about Mr. Darby, you mentioned the book that from a number of the terminally ill patients that you say you had the great honor to know, they left an impression, and one was how to take care of your life in those circumstances, having a living will, that type of thing. Talk about what you learned from being in the ER with terminal patients.
Well, Rick, and again, thank you. An excellent question. But yes, what I learned, and it wasn't from Solomon, it was over the years, all this accumulated. Life is very, very brief. And I've seen so many cases that of unexpected death. A lot of blood, a lot of tragedy, and somebody dies. And I learned the value of having what they call a living will. Just when you're able to, and you're alert, and you're able to write down your thoughts, write them down in a living will and present them, because it will save your friends and your loved ones from a very unpleasant circumstance of having to make the decisions under pressure in the ER at the time at the terminal event has happened, and now they're having to decide, oh, what do we do? Do we have a feeding tube? Do we save mom? Do we put her on a ventilator? What do we do? And it helps for you or the individual to go ahead and make that decision. I don't want this, or I do want this. Write it down, make it legal, and have it with you.
And you've seen situations where obviously you realize the patient is terminal. They realize it. The family realizes it. Is there a peace of mind that comes to the terminally ill and their families when they realize a lot of these questions have been answered? They do not have to worry about what they would want in this circumstance?
Yes, the ones that have a living will, yes, they are comfortable, and the family's comfortable. But I've seen the other, and it's very unpleasant, because all of a sudden a lot of people unexpectedly are thrown into a bad situation, having to make life and death decisions on the spur of the moment with nothing really to guide them other than, do everything. And And that's not pleasant. Because, for example, you've got the 95-year-old from a nursing home, and this was her 20th visit to the ER this year. And doing everything means a lot of painful, very painful procedures for her. And so you ask a very expensive procedure. In fact, I've seen some studies that say upwards of 20% of the finances in medicine are spent in the last 2 years of life trying to prolong life, not quality of life. And there's no quality associated. In fact, in the example I just gave, the little old lady from a nursing home, or the little old man, if you do everything and they somehow miraculously make it, they'll simply go back to the nursing home, and they'll spend for another couple of months with flesh and contractures in the bed, pooping on themselves, peeing on themselves, and in very unpleasant circumstances. And then they'll have their pneumonia or their urosepsis, and they'll come back to the ER, and the cycle will start again. And sooner or later, we have to, as a society, we have to make a decision about what to do. And that's why living well is probably the way to go for the vast majority of people.
In the book, you talk about that, a License to Heal. Dr. Stephen Bentley, our guest on This Week in America. Information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. The book is excellent. It's a memoir, a number of stories, thoughts, observations from over 33 years in the emergency room. You talk about oncologists being able to offer more life. And if you just said to the average person, if we could get you another 6 to 12 months, would you be interested? And we think, without really thinking, yeah, that'd be great. And you mentioned sometimes we often don't tell them that comes with a price tag, and not necessarily financially, but physically. There are side effects. Is the medical community doing enough to point out, we can buy you extra time, but here's what the cost is going to be physically?
Another excellent question, Rick. In my opinion, no. I used to fight with the oncologists all the time. You have to understand, these people, their mission is to practice oncology and save lives, the terminally ill. And so they will come by and promise a patient another month and a half, 2 months. And these people are desperate, dying people, and they'll grab at straws. They'll do anything. And so they take what the oncologists have to offer. The oncologists have the bad habit of playing up what they can provide and playing down how sick they're going to be. So you'll take a terminally ill patient who's got 6 months, and they take the therapy, and they're sick for 5 of those 6 months. They're terribly sick, and they feel terrible, and then they die. And no, they don't tell the people, they don't make them aware of just how bad this is going to be for them. Now it's changed, and it's all situational, it all depends. But by and large, you have to be very aware of what you're doing. This when you're buying extra life, extra time.
This is a difficult question. We touched on it last time, but you talk a lot about in the back of your mind, or they try to plant in the back of your mind, they being the corporations that own so many of the hospitals, to keep the hospitals as busy as possible. How does that impact a decision made by the medical staff when they're determining what course of action to take, whether to keep them in the hospital or send them home, whether to run another test, or whether that test isn't going to tell them anything they don't already know? How much of that does that play into the decision making?
Well, I told you at the start, Rick, that I can talk quite, and this is a very dear subject to me. I can talk on and on. Thank you very much. Yes, the problem is that we come into play. I can't speak for the staff physicians because I was never in that position. But from the ER, there is constant pressure from the administration, from the hospital CEOs to keep the hospital full. That's where the money is. And that's one of the reasons I quit medicine. That is the reason I quit medicine, is I kept getting nasty phone calls that said, Dr. Bentley, you didn't make enough money last night. You need to order more unnecessary tests. You need to admit patients, more patients unnecessarily, because that's where the money is. And so I would ask them directly, did you say I was bad? Did you say I missed something? And they said, oh, no, Dr. Bentley. We said you're a great doctor. You just didn't make enough money. We need you to make money. And I got very mad at that mindset, at that attitude of profit. Medicine is not about profit. It's about patients. And it's one of the few industries, I feel, that cannot be operated on a cost, on a profit basis. It just can't. You're not producing widgets. You're not. It's not a factory making things for sale. This is people's lives and people's health, and yet the corporations want to make money. So, in fact, I had one conversation where I was told directly, Dr. Bentley, you don't see patients anymore. You see customers. You see customers. And I really didn't like that. My response was, when did I go to work for Taco Bell? I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that idea of seeing customers and please the customer. No, I'm a doc.
A couple of minutes left in the program. I had a doctor one time tell me a few years ago they got this life-saving piece of equipment in the hospital, potentially life-saving, very, very expensive. And the concern was they kept reminding the doctors, the medical staff, how much that cost. And basically, and they might have flat out said it might have been overt, that you really need to step up, and almost like you've got a quota that you have to keep this piece of equipment busy. As a doctor, do you look at it like, well, this is great to have because if I need it, it's there? Or do you feel like, oh, they're going to make me use this whether I want to or not?
That is true of the medical industry in general. As technology has improved, MRI, CT scans, advanced CT scans, new medicines, expensive medicines, use them. A lot of pressure to use them because we have to pay for them. And the way you pay for them is to use them. It wasn't really indicated. And the other part of the story is you'll have patients coming in. They're reading Reader's Digest or some throwaway journal about and they'll come in and demand an MRI or a CT. And there's you don't need a CT. And then, but they're demanding it. So just get plain film. They don't even know what a plain film will show. They're demanding the expensive test.
We have so much more to talk about, and we will have Dr. Bentley back. That brings up the whole area of drugs advertised on television, and a lot of people saying, wow, doctors saying I have these patients come in, or customers, depending on what vernacular they're using, they come in and tell me exactly what they want because they saw it on the NBC Nightly News last night, so this is going to make the quality of life better. Don't answer that. We will answer that the next time when we have Dr. Stephen Bentley back with us on the program. The book is an excellent read, a memoir of his 33 years in the emergency room, A License to Heal Random Memories of an ER Doctor. His website, it's Dr. Stephen Bentley, is a license to heal.wordpress.com. The book's available at all the usual book outlets around the country. Information, of course, available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You can link on directly to the website. Doctor, it is always a pleasure. Please come back with us on the program, and thank you for being with us. A lot to think about during the course of the last half hour. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us.